On today's adventure, we are back in northern Arizona on a cold winter day. First, we head to Marshall Lake to explore the area, and then later in this video, we take a short drive to check out Prime Lake. All along the way, I share some photography tips, and we also find some interesting animals to photograph as this adventure unfolds. Today, we're heading back into northern Arizona for a interesting location known as Marshall Lake. Now, this lake is located just to the east of Flagstaff, Arizona, and we've made it to the turnoff and we're headed down the dirt road towards Marshall Lake. But this particular section, I love to take it extremely slowly, not just because it's a beautiful drive, but you never know what kind of wildlife you're going to come across. So I'm always prepared with the telephoto lens on and the appropriate settings for the light that we have today, which is pretty overcast. So I'm looking for some interesting animals as we approach the lake, and we're going to have a blast today because I've got a few photo ideas that I think are going to make for some very interesting images. So let's get to the lake and hope we find some animals on the way. The sun has just started to peek out through the clouds, and it has really just lit up these beautiful yellow reeds. And what's really great about coming out here in the winter is in the summer, those are all lush and green. And most people don't really come out here to photograph in the winter unless there's snow. So today's kind of an interesting take for me anyway, to get this landscape with some very different conditions. First of which is those yellow reeds, but I think they really pop in this image against that dark, moody sky off in the background, as well as the distant mountains of the San Francisco peaks. Now, the coolest element probably of all is there is somewhat of a lenticular cloud that has this big sprawling kind of wing shape that hovers right over the top of the mountain. So I want to make sure that I capture this image right away before those clouds move and the composition of this image changes. But I think it makes for a very interesting photo, especially with the color contrast of that yellow and blue. So check this image out. What is really cool is all of this sign. These are elk and deer tracks that lead into the reeds. They make these little pathways for drinking water. Incredible to see. After reviewing that first image today, I decided to put the telephoto lens on so that I could really zoom in and just isolate there is a small house or cabin off in the distance. And what I want to do is zoom in so I have the house itself at the bottom of the frame and then those towering mountains just behind it. A very compressed scene to make the mountains look much larger than they are by comparison to the cabin. So what I have is the telephoto is zoomed in at 250 millimeters, and I'm using f8 because it's so far away. I'll get that depth of field just using f8, and then aperture priority for this final image. I moved around to the southern end of Marshall Lake, and it seems to be just that much more swampy and muddy. Even though it's a cold winter day, the ground itself is not that solid, and the ice that's in the area is actually quite thin. So For now, we're going to leave Marshall Lake and head to our second destination, which is called Prime Lake. It should be filled with a lot more opportunity and photographic potential, but we will definitely be back because I have a very unique photo in store for the final image today. What a nasty, nasty road that was to get back in here to Prime Lake, but you can get here from a passenger car if you stop before you get to the dirt road and just hike back in here. Probably another half of a mile, maybe 3/4 at most, but definitely accessible if you don't have a 4x4. And if you do have a 4x4, it's still a nasty road. So we're at Prime Lake now, and we're going to head down this kind of eastern side back here. It's a little bit rockier and a little bit higher up in elevation, so we can maybe see down into the lake and hopefully find some animals or birds, something interesting. Fingers crossed we still come across a few animals, but you never know what we're going to find. So let's get over there and take a look. So I'm kind of perched up here just on that rocky ledge that goes around the eastern side of the lake. And I'm just kind of waiting. Hopefully I can spend about an hour here, hoping that some animals will come in. But you never know. You never do know. In the meanwhile, I found a great composition similar to the one at Marshall Lake, which is those beautiful golden reeds and then the distant mountains off in the distance. Another fantastic telephoto image. This one's actually only at 100 millimeters, but it still makes for a fantastic shot. While I was hoping to find some larger animals like elk or deer, I didn't seem to find any today. However, I did come across a lot of interesting birds. Check these out in this tree. There's got to be 50 birds. Then later, I found this amazing woodpecker. Just busy at work. It was a beautiful sight to see. Finally, the highlight was this beautiful brown hawk. An incredible find and an incredible set of shots. For the last image today, it's going to be the photo of the day simply because I have visualized this photo for a couple of years now. I'm always going to locations with the mindset of what is unique about this location? Is it the time of year? Is it the weather? What makes this a unique photograph? So I'm always trying to come out here with different perspectives and that sort of thing. So with that being said, I recently acquired a drone and we're going to launch it into the air and get the shot that I've been visualizing for a while now. When you come to a place like Marshall Lake where it's really flat, it's hard to see the lake itself when you're basically at ground level with it. So with the drone, I can get up in the air and see all these different patterns you get with the reeds themselves. That with the beautiful lake and the distant mountains, I think this makes for a fantastic image and years in the making. What an incredible day of photography, bird photography, and some aerial photography. Hope you've learned some tips and tricks. along the way with me and inspired you to get out and check these locations out for yourself. If you are, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you're notified of future adventures here on the channel. Otherwise, I'll see you in that next adventure.